Hey, it's Arlesha. I'm a purpose-driven mover and shaker who embarked on a sabbatical for the first time in my career. Welcome to my first podcast. This season, I'm talking about what it means to be on sabbatical, to recharge your life, career, and purpose. Throughout each episode, I'll share gems and insights experienced from my first sabbatical journey in the hopes it'll inspire you to harmonize your life and ambitions. Let's get into it. The wonderful outcome of my sabbatical is coming away with an abundance of gems and lessons I will take with me into the remainder of my career and life. And I have to imagine that you're continuing to join me on this podcast so that you can collect some gems as well for your career and life. Some gems I am going to save for future episodes and other content, but I won't hoard them all. I selected some special gems that I will share with you on this episode. One I gathered while on my prey trip, and the other gem I gathered while indulging in a guilty pleasure activity on sabbatical. I also have a few questions from some listeners that I'll answer this episode. By the way, you can always send me an email at the address included in the show description below if you have career-related questions as you grow within your career or need tips and questions on how to best maximize your PTO and time off. If you're listening to this podcast for the first time, I highly encourage you to tune in to the earlier episodes starting at episode 1, as I may have touched on some of your curiosities already. All right, let's get into it. The first gem that I am going to share this episode is one that I gathered while in Costa Rica, enjoying the hot springs in the La Fortuna region. If you travel to La Fortuna, a thing to do is to enjoy their hot springs. There's numerous hot spring resorts in the region. What makes the hot springs unique is that they're warmed by the magma of the Arenal volcano. I visited a beautiful 5-star hot spring resort, and that particular resort had about 20 different pool areas, more or less, of heated natural spring water. There was a cold pool where you can plunge into before you get into the warmer heated pools, and every pool area has its different vibe. But they're all private and intimate jacuzzi-style pools with gardens and mini waterfalls surrounding them. On top of the water already being naturally warmed, the pool's temperature was supplemented at about 94 to 104 degrees Fahrenheit. As I indulged, I quickly realized something within my experience that afternoon. What I would realize is that when I would go into a heated pool, my body would get adjusted to the water temperature. So when I dip in, it would be hot, then it gets warm, then cool. Then I'd move to another pool to switch up the scene. It's hot, then it gets warm, then cool again. My body would adjust to the water's temperature in about, let's say, 5-minute span. So what I would end up doing is switching my pools every 20 minutes or so, which I didn't mind because experiencing different pools is part of the experience. I dipped in about 10 pools during my time at the resort for the day. If I wanted to experience warm waters, I had to keep it moving. If I wanted to continue the experience of a hot spring, that is a gem and the lesson. How many of us are in waters that we have been sitting in for years? As we sit in those same waters, the water just gets cooler and cooler, year over year, and eventually you'll get bored with the pool. Like I did while on the resort, I would move, and perhaps it is time for you to change your pool too. I am going to say it again. It might be time for you to change your pool, change your surrounding, change your environment, get into warmer water. There is a time for a cold plunge, and then there is a time to ensure that you can keep your waters warm. Because what is a hot spring experience if you were just simply staying in cold water? So I had to constantly keep it moving because our bodies always adjust and we get comfortable. Yeah, it might be a little bit of an inconvenience that you have to grab your towel, grab your belongings to head to another pool, but it's necessary to ensure you're getting the true experience. When that job no longer is aligning with your purpose, or when you need to make a change with the people that's in your vicinity, you keep it moving. The water is cold. And it's not to say that when you keep it moving, others can't join you in a pool because with some pools, multiple people can fit. Then those people will eventually leave and then you can have it to yourself and then another person comes in. But just make the move. It's on you. You choose to stay in cold water and lessen your entire experience, even though the resort around you is designed for you to have multiple experiences and keep your waters warm. That is a lesson. Take that with you. Okay, gem number 2. Don't laugh at me, but I had this itch for whatever reason to binge watch The Real Housewives and embrace that as my guilty pleasure during sabbatical. I went back to the early seasons of Real Housewives of Atlanta and New York City. I think my curiosity in going back to the early seasons was more so to catch myself up with scenarios and situations and give myself some context to some of the later episodes. These early seasons ran on the Bravo network circa 2008, 2009, and around that time, I was at the early stages of my career hustling and bustling. I mean, at one point, I had like 5 different gigs at one time. So I missed out on some TV. And it's been a while since I saw the early episodes. And so I decided to watch them in chronological order from seasons 1 through about seasons 8. I know, I know. But as I watched, I had an aha moment. Here is what you have probably come to realize about me. I am always going to find an aha moment in almost anything, okay? So hear me out. Many of these ladies were navigating the prime of their adulting years and balancing navigating family, parenthood, their early days of entrepreneurship, singleness, dating, marriage, friendship, divorces, the whole nine. And watching these scenarios while now having some life experience, career experience, and real world experience under my belt, it now hits differently. While watching, I thought about the notion of what I call seasonal enjoyment. Here is what I mean about seasonal enjoyment. You can be in season 1, 2, or 3 of your life and stress about certain things that is going to come and arrive in season 4, 5, or 6 of your life. And because you were so anxious about it, you didn't fully maximize season 1, 2, or 3. You didn't fully enjoy and maximize those seasons for what it was. The thing that you are anxiously waiting for is coming. It's on its way, and it's going to come in a way that you can't even plan for yourself. It's a reason why this show is called an quote unquote unscripted show. Some things are scripted, yes. And let's keep it real for the most part, though. Some things are absolutely unscripted. And we're watching these situations play out in real time. But what's even more incredible is that I already knew how their scenarios would play out. I find myself, as I watch, talking back at them like, oh, wait until season 6. You might as well go on your hammock and enjoy now because your business is about to take off. The grind is about to get real. They have no idea as they're going through season 1 what's coming in season 6, right? Or the husband that will arrive in season 9. I would find myself talking to the TV. Yes, talking to the TV. Stop being so uptight and worried about the next woman's relationship. Go enjoy yourself. Stop engaging. Your time is coming in season 4 because as a lifelong Real Housewives viewer, I know what's coming. I'll use Bethany Frankel as an example. In season 1, She is obsessing over whether she'll get married, have a kid, and whether she can manage juggling those two things with her demanding career as a celebrity chef. Next thing you know, in the very next season, in season two, as she is building out her brand, Skinny Girl, and as she gets her legs, she is in a committed relationship and pregnant all in one season. Just the season before, she was panicking about all of those things. Instead of anxiously worrying about it, imagine if Bethany just let her hair down. And I don't know, maybe, hey, took a sabbatical before her brand took off and the husband came and the baby came all wrapped in one season. So here's the gem. Relax a little more. Enjoy yourself today because you know what? It is on its way. You are in seasons 1, 2, or 3. Season 5 is going to be like the season Bethany had, where everything was all wrapped in one. So why not go and enjoy? And maybe in season 4, you can have that opportune time to take a break before it gets real. But real in a beautiful way, right? You are possibly in season 3 or 4 of your life, and the thing that you are constantly ruminating and causing anxiety over is going to meet you in an upcoming season. So that means you have 2 seasons in between that you can just let your hair down instead of causing anxiety, or maybe take that breather in between. The irony of this advice is that the analogy is based on a reality show. And if you're filming a reality show, you are technically still working. But the breather can simply be to stop obsessing over whether something is going to happen, whether the business will take off, whether your career will advance. Will I be able to invest for retirement and meet my retirement goal? Will I be able to start a family? Should I freeze my eggs? Should I? Should I? Will I? Will I? Relax. Let's also talk quickly about when you do receive those things you're stressing over, but you don't maintain or sustain them when you do receive it. That's also a big theme in Real Housewives. Many of the cast members receive their desires, but don't necessarily do what they need to do to maintain it. Whether it's a business, relationship, or marriage, their finances. Many of the storylines entail divorces, bankruptcy, businesses that shut down, and more. There are seasons in which you can enjoy and take a breather, but there are also seasons in which you have to buckle down and do what you got to do so that what you're working towards and what you're seeking will be sustainable. So that's what binge watching Real Housewives reminded me. Here's a recap of both the gems in this segment. Number 1, move your pools. The water that was once heated will eventually cool down. Create a life and career strategy for yourself where you can make necessary moves or pivots to ensure that the waters you immerse yourself in will remain heated. And number 2, enjoy the season. Plain and simple. Enjoy the current season. Don't obsess on the when, if, and how. What you're seeking is on its way. Make sure you're in the right environment, have the right cast members around you, and sustain it when it arrives in the next season. All right, here is our Q&A segment. I asked some of my special listeners to submit questions on anything career related or questions regarding career breaks or taking time off, PTO, vacation. I will kick it off with a question from, I'm going to name her C. Let's keep her anonymous. So I will name her C. Here is C's question. C asked, how do you maximize your vacation and truly make it feel like rest without needing a vacation from your vacation when you return to the office? I know how that is. You go on vacation and there is nothing more annoying than having that underlying worry that something will go wrong in your absence or that you'll have so much work piled up that you'll become more overwhelmed than before you even went on vacation. So here's my advice. My advice would be to ensure you have coverage or someone at work in the office, whether a colleague or peer that can cover and ensure some of your basic tasks and requests, or at least low lifts, are handled in your absence. So that when you return, the only thing to resume for you is the high priority items that you'd be responsible for. And hopefully, it's only just a few items waiting on your return. The other proactive thing to do, see, before your PTO begins, is to anticipate what will be waiting for you when you return so that you can prepare accordingly. You can set a kind of return to office to-do list so that way you have a structure to work off and you can manage what that will likely be waiting for you, what task or items you would anticipate happening for you when you get back into the office on that following Monday or whenever your vacation ends. And then also make sure anyone who needs to know that you'll be away knows that way in advance, because what this does, it prepares them and it makes them proactive to approach you, hopefully, with any needs, requests, or asks from their end way before you are out of office so that it's not a fire drill you have to handle upon your return. This is key for anyone who is in a client-facing or service role. Those are some things I'd keep in mind to ensure you can enjoy yourself on vacation and not have the Sunday scaries for your first Monday back. All right, question 2. Someone asked if I could provide tips for an Eat, Pray, Love experience for those unable to take a long-term break and other places to consider for an Eat, Pray, Love or sabbatical. Okay, I like that question. I think it's totally possible to do, even in a short break of a week or two, a kind of Eat, Pray, Love. Eat, Pray, Love is simply just themes and a format. There's no rule for a length of time. You can take PTO in an increment of 3 weeks of time off and maybe theme the 1 week trip around something. The biggest tip on all of this Eat, Pray, Love advice, though, that I would give is to not be pressured to use a passport if you are from the United States. There's plenty of options domestically, and I'll share some of that too. I'll share some ideas on some places you can keep in mind. So remember, eat is not just about food. It's about savoring the experience of something that you enjoy. So if food is not really your thing, if you're not a foodie, but you enjoy music, art, architecture, fashion, then maybe you visit those places that will provide you with experiences like galleries and great architecture with museums and other sites. I am bullish on Barcelona these days, but other European cities like Paris, Rome, various parts of Greece can offer you just that if you're looking for foodie experiences or other cultural elements that you can savor. You can eat and have some amazing shopping experiences at the same time in various parts of Europe if fashion and shopping is your thing. Shopping, yes, qualifies as savoring. Domestically in the United States, quite frankly, New York is an amazing site for an eat week-long trip, or San Francisco, and pairing that up, pun intended, with wine country, Napa Valley, and Sonoma. Chicago in the summertime is a beautiful eat destination, literally with amazing food that the city offers, and it's just a beautiful place with museums and the downtown architecture and the skyline that's so beautiful. New Orleans is another amazing eat destination. There's not a shortage of good food to enjoy, and plus it's a great place to enjoy some music and live jazz. Those U.S. cities are great options for a 1 week visit to indulge your senses in an eat experience. Eat is a bit more of a self-centered type of trip, while love is about interactions with yourselves and others. So I say self-centered because it's about what you want to indulge and savor. And love is about a vibe, right? It's about self-love and community and a love for others. I will leave that up to your interpretation. Go with your intuition on what you want your love to look like. But if we want to be on the nose, if you're in a committed monogamous relationship, why not? Make it a vacation. Make it something romantic. Have some fun with your partner. I also think your love trip is about getting to know yourself and others. So I think of places that are social where you can easily meet or interact with people and with comfortable weather so that you can let your hair down, like the Caribbean, or places that offer a beach or water. If you're in the United States and you want something domestic, think like going out to the Hamptons, Martha's Vineyard in the summer. Those are social opportunities. And hey, if you are single, you never know who you could meet in those places. I also like US country sites that are charming for a love trip. So, like a Savannah, Georgia in the summer, or a few parts of the South Carolinas or Carolinas in general. Charleston is cute. I love the idea of being around roses, flowers, and beautiful trees in the springtime too for a love trip. So I think of southern places, also Tennessee. Tennessee would be great for a love trip, also a prey trip. Globally, various parts of Africa make for a good time to embrace self and others, such as Ethiopia, a place that is near and dear to me. I enjoyed that trip back in 2019 with a community of special people. That trip gave me love vibes, so I have to put Ethiopia on the list. Plus, the people in Ethiopia are the most beautiful and precious people you'll ever meet. Ghana is also another beautiful country made for a community these days. So a trip to Ghana during the holidays feels like a perfect opportunity for a love trip. More global ideas for love would be Santorini, Greece. Just imagine the pictures you'd come back with in Santorini. Florence, Italy has love vibes. Kyoto, Japan also has love vibes. Again, love is about self-love and embracing community. Now, the prey trip. For your prey trip, this is about spirituality and mindfulness. So it goes without saying that you'll decide on your locations based on those elements. I am also a proponent of your prey trip not necessarily needing to be a religious site, just so that your experience is not boxed in. But I do understand why one would choose a religious site to truly tap in for all of the spiritual benefits. And quite frankly, trips like that are very necessary. So places like Jerusalem, Israel, and various parts in Asia, such as Thailand, Bali, obviously China, they create these true spiritual and religious-based opportunities. I have been in those regions and truly understand how eye-opening and edifying those trips can be. A swim in the Dead Sea was rewarding for me, and also imagine a place like the Great Wall of China as a prey trip activity. I climbed the Great Wall of China twice, and if I were to do it again, which I'm sure I will, I'd have plenty of meditative moments to create some prey-like experiences. Speaking of the Great Wall of China, experiencing a world wonder would be an amazing prey trip experience like Machu Picchu in Peru. That would be a great idea. With my Costa Rica trip, nature was a key element for me. I'm big on choosing destinations that will give you access to nature. In the United States, I had on my list Asheville, North Carolina. Imagine getting a cabin in the winter and taking in the view of snow and mountains, or a cabin in the spring or summer. A camping trip can be interesting for a prey experience as well. In California, Monterey is beautiful for a prey, especially if you want to be immersed in marine nature. Big Sur in California as well is a great choice, which has beautiful scenery. Canada offers amazing prey sites in multiple provinces. Vancouver would be a good one too. But I think the nature component is key. That truly elevates the experience. Oh, and almost forgot Hawaii. Hawaii would make a great prey destination. So these would be my ideas and choices for each trip. But again, the biggest advice of all is to not pressure yourself to use a passport. And quite frankly, you can start with your own backyard where you live. The place that you reside may have equal parts of the experience of an Eat, Pray, Love. So I would also start there. My last question, this comes from one of my favorites. Her initials are JM, so I will call her JM. JM asks, what are some financial literacy apps or resources that can help young professionals start setting up their savings to one day take a sabbatical? A lovely question. I'd start with ensuring that you start to save up after identifying the point in time that you would like to take a sabbatical, if all of the chips fall in your favor to do so. So if you say to yourself, in 5 years, I'd like to possibly do a 3-month sabbatical, then start saving 5 years in advance of that. All right, calculate what your living expenses are on a monthly basis and multiply that by the number of months you take off. This determines how much you need for the basics of life. Then I times that number by a number that you're comfortable with so that you can carve out a travel and lifestyle budget so that you have some guilt-free and rewarding experiences while on your break. The experiences may or may not be travel, but I highly recommend at least one trip within a 3-month span. In fact, the formula I'd recommend is maybe one trip every 2 to 3 months on break. You could essentially use that lifestyle carve out in your budget for travel or spa days, going to a show, a concert, any experience that will bring you joy and expand your horizons. So there's a lot of digital budget apps that can help with that. I used to use mint.com. I believe mint.com has now been transferred over to Credit Karma. You might want to do some research and see if that works for you, if you'd be into that, or some other digital financial apps that help with monthly budgeting. So I do that budget tip with identifying the point in time you'd like to take a sabbatical and roadmap that up 3 to 5 years in advance to start saving. Also, just like you would with your 401k, identify a dollar amount that you'd be willing to deduct from your paycheck and put that away. So ideally, hypothetically, let's say you want to deduct $100 to $200 every paycheck. That's roughly $200 to $400 a month. Set that aside and put this into a high yield savings account. A high yield savings account would be the resource that I highly recommend, not just a regular savings account. That way, that money is benefiting from the building of interest over time. Right now is the perfect time to have a high yield savings account. If you need any recommendations on which account to open up, JM, I can reach out to you directly with some ideas. But definitely do some research on some high yield savings accounts that can give you the benefit of interest over time on your money. Another tip is to save a portion of your year-end bonuses at work. Take a portion of that bonus and put it into your one-day sabbatical fund. You can also do this with your annual tax refund. Take a portion of your tax refund and put this into your sabbatical fund and just keep, have that fund build over time for you. And hey, in 5 years' time, you'll have a nice fund. And you never know what your work situation will look like. You may be able to negotiate more PTO time on top of that and leverage your PTO days. Here's one last tip for you. This one is a little riskier. And with this tip that I'm going to share, I need to add a disclaimer that I am not a financial advisor. So you take this advice at your risk. And there's so much research that you can do. There's so many financial podcasts even that you can listen to give some tips on what this could look like. But I will suggest that you look into investing into certain quality stock, keyword, quality stocks, like your Apples, your Microsofts, your Googles, buy into some stock, hold it for a few years, get the benefits from the dividends that come with holding it for a few years. And when that stock hits a kind of profit, you can sell it and add those funds to your sabbatical fund. That is a great tip if you are careful and cautious and choose only high quality stock. High quality. This will take a few years of holding to truly capture a capital gain, but this advice is one that I would give if you are wanting to be proactive and save way in advance, because yes, you can save way in advance to one day take a sabbatical. So I'll do a quick summation for you. JM, save from your paychecks consistently, save a portion from your bonuses every year or your tax refunds every year as well, and leverage stock with a smart entry point and a smart and safe exit strategy where you can leverage profits and make use of funds for your sabbatical fund that you're saving for. And that concludes the Q&A section and this episode. I hope you all enjoyed the gems that came through. I have a favor to ask of you. I ask that you share these gems out. Share this episode with a friend. These gems are for us and for you and for them too. Until next time, I am sincerely yours, Arlesha.